The SRAD is back, baby. But is it too late? It's never too late for a little soiree on one of Europe's best roads.
So, 2.5 days later, after, let's face it, a catastrophe with Team SRAD.
A catastrophic prolapse, I think they call that.
Catastrophic prolapse,
Yeah.
which has actually cost us so much time that we're sadly not going to make it.
You can see Africa. I mean,
there.
we can see it, so yeah.
I think, it's close enough.
Yeah.
It's there.
Just not quite close enough for this.
If you can see it with the naked eye, I think you can say you've been there.
Yeah. But ultimately, we've had a 3-day holiday in Marbella, so...
To get on the back of a recovery vehicle, that is,
Yeah.
catastrophic point failure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hemorrhaging points, aren't I?
Yeah.
Just everywhere.
I think even without adding it up, it's pretty clear
Yeah.
that Team Ninja won the fight. Any regrets?
No, because we're going to go and do the Ronda roads. Basically, because we can't do Africa, we're going to go and smash that out on the way back to Santander. Of course, being the winner, this mug is going to fly home.
That's the prize.
So I'm just going to drive the van back myself. So
See you in a couple of days. Have a nice 3 days on the road.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
I know. I think we've got a booby. Sam, have you got a booby prize? Well, it's not really a booby prize. This is the 2018 booby prize, which is the Fengarola Grande.
Pine Gigante.
Pine Gigante.
Si.
So maybe you can open a few bottles with that on your way home.
Thanks, mate.
Not driving, obviously. Massive thanks, I think, in order for a couple of people, namely James at JHS.
Yes.
For absolutely sorting
definitely.
us out with mechanic time.
He spent so many hours and his own money actually fixing these bikes. So
Yeah. So that's a huge thank you. So please go and say thank you to him. Mercedes-Benz, who lent us probably the fourth man of the team. This was, wasn't it? And
definitely.
It's been our home for the last
3 days.
3 days. All our crap, all the camera equipment. Because I know to everyone on YouTube, you don't see what goes on behind making something like this, and where we've got a cameraman and all the equipment to do it right, there's no possible way you can do it just on the bike. It's not possible. So
we were trying to get Sam on a GS, but it's just
even on
work.
the GS, there's So massive thank you to Mercedes-Benz for the tremendous Sprinter.
The Mercedes-Benz 316 CDI Sprinter is the go-to vehicle for hauling bikes around the world. The meaty 163 bhp engine, luxury cab, dreamy ride, and its idyllic loading facility ensured this silver beast gets a solid 9 out of 10 on the 44T Dicta scale.
A massive thank you also has to go to Triumph, because we were supposed to be on Andalusia on the Monday. It rained all day, and Triumph kindly let us use their track time on Almeria in the morning.
So the whole international press launch of the Speed Triple RS, all the journalists in the world are watching these two shitters fly down the straight.
Laying oil everywhere.
Everywhere. So massive thank you to Triumph. And of course, Bridgestone for the S21s, which have been, again, phenomenal tyre. We did stuff on those last year.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, actually, and everyone, thank you for buying stickers and
definitely,
stuff, because we couldn't have done it without those sticker sales.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely not. So thank you very much for that, and we hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully this becomes a recurring series of sorts. We've learned a few lessons.
Not spending too much time rebuilding them, because it's been an absolute fist.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing I've learned is you can definitely go on a biking holiday in January, February, March.
Very true, yeah.
Get on a ferry from Brittany, get Brittany ferries from Portsmouth, Santander, Bilbao. That first bit is a bit cold.
Yeah.
Make sure you prepare for that. But once you get through to the middle of Spain, southern Spain, it's been 20 degrees, the sun's shining.
Summer gloves on.
Yeah.
Hot. I mean, it's beautiful today, and everyone's moaning in England, oh, I can't wait for biking season. Just jump on a boat.
Yeah.
Come on down to Marbella.
Fuengirola.
I'm not going to Fengarola again.
No.
Right, well, on this beautiful sunny day on the best roads in Europe, we thought we'd just stop and do a bit of a once-over, a final shakedown of all the bits on the bike, the mistakes, the brilliance, all the little bits that I should have done, shouldn't have done. So I guess we'll start right up the front with the Nissin 4-pot calipers. Now, obviously, I think you've seen before when we had issues fitting the other ones, blah, blah, blah. Those brakes, those calipers should have been on it from the start, without a question. They're so much better than the original 6-pots. This GSX-R master cylinder, that was a mistake, I believe, because the problems it caused, it's just not worth the hassle of changing it from the stock one. You read all this stuff on the internet like, oh yeah, you know, go straight on. It doesn't go straight on at all, because then you've got 2 lines. The steering lock has had to be changed because it's so big, it hits the clocks. So that's reduced that. So doing 3-point turns, especially when we're filming, is a nightmare. And it had to be ground down, so I wouldn't do that again. Sat nav is probably, in a practical term, yeah, I would have done that all day long. Obviously, I've still got my sat nav from my other bike, so I just bought another little mount, a RAM mount, and a cable. Perfect, happy with that. Without that, I think we would have had some serious issues. Rear sets, obviously they are the Gillies race, like sexy as hell ones. Are they any lower? I don't think they are, to be honest. They're on the lowest setting and furthest back, and they still feel pretty high. I think they may be a couple of mil lower. Would I have done it again? Yes, because they just look awesome. And on the track, they really helped, and they've got this nice nipples on the top there. Seat, I should have changed this. This is getting worse and worse. This is like polished glass now. And on the track section, it was, and this is slippery as hell as well, it was difficult just to stay on the bike. I almost just fell off it. So, grippier seat, maybe some modification there. Comfort-wise, it actually wasn't too bad. I did find myself sitting up on the pillion seat on the long rides just to stretch the legs a bit, but again, that's because the rear set's not necessarily the seat. Chain and 1 tooth down on the front sprocket. Would I have done that again? Probably not, to be fair. The performance, it's definitely brought it closer in line with that. So for the track sections and when we're sodding around being idiots, it's been brilliant. But the long ride, and that's what I really should have been modding for, it's unbearable at 100 kilometers per hour. It's sitting at 10,000 RPM with this exhaust, which we'll come to in a minute, and it's just, the noise is unbearable, and it just feels like you're stressing the bike out way too much. So then a comfortable cruising speed becomes 70 miles an hour. So the gearing, I wouldn't have changed again, I don't believe. But for the performance, it was, you know, for the actual sprocket, if you didn't want to go 520, it's like 15 quid, so it's pretty good. And also, when we changed it, we also found the issue with the clutch slave cylinder, which then cost me another 100 quid because that had to be changed, which it should have been done anyway because it might have failed when we're out here. But yeah, the actual gearing, I probably wouldn't have done again. Heated grips from R&G, absolutely best 40 quid I've ever spent. Some of those, when we first got off the boat and we're going over the mountains, it was freezing cold and we had really nice warm gloves and everything, but those heated grips were a godsend. I even had them on like pootling up to the track, even in days like this. It's just an extra bit of comfort, and that's what I like, a bit of comfort. Screen, yeah, I would have done that again. This is just a second-hand one. I don't even know where it's from. It's a bit taller. The turbulence is a little bit better, and the battery under the seat, the lithium-ion battery, you know, it's a good idea to change the battery anyway, so I kind of needed to get one, but I probably could have styled it out with the old one. The weight saving, you know, again, you're looking at it on paper thinking, oh, I'm going to do all this minor performance mods and they're all going to increment up and let's save all the weight. But, you know, would I do it again? I probably would, actually, just because it needed to replace that battery. But if your battery's running fine, I wouldn't bother. It's a lot heavier, but, you know, as soon as you fill up with petrol or eat a burger, you're fat anyway. Raised the ride height on the shock, that was a good thing. It has meant that the whole bike is more forward, so the wrists are a bit more painful, and I found myself sliding down this incredibly slippery seat. But other than that, she's been fantastic. Obviously, the biggest glaring issue is the fact I've been running on 3/4 cylinders for most of the trip. That is just down to a poor error, really. I should have cleaned the carbs before we left, but it was running absolutely perfectly, and just typically the day we set off, it has an issue. So yeah, that's the first thing I'm gonna do when I get back, is just clean those carbs out. I think it's the pilot jet, I've been informed. So it only works at high RPM, which is all right when you're chasing that bloody Suzuki. And the worst thing I didn't do is change that bloody exhaust. The only reason I put that one back on is because the bike was running better with it. Obviously with the issue with the carb, it makes no difference anyway. And the noise is like ear-bleedingly painful, especially with the high gearing at 10,000 RPM sat on the motorway. It is, and you feel like a dick everywhere you go. It's fun for a laugh if you're just gonna go out on a Sunday and be like, oh, I'm really annoying everyone. But yeah, that, I would choose to put the stock can on if I had it now, because it's that annoying. So the total spend for this bike was £862. Most of it, to be honest, I didn't have to spend, apart from the 280 quid on those calipers. The rest of it would have been good. So yeah, considerably less than that, man.
Welcome to this beautiful Spanish mountainside, and probably, well, I would say beautiful, it's not really beautiful. It's not as aesthetically pleasing as that green thing, but dynamically it absolutely whoops it, even with no brakes. So like Chris did, we'll go front to back. Now, I had two glaring issues to start off with, and they were the radiator and the fork stanchions. Now, the beauty of Suzuki is they run this vintage parts program, so I was able to get a radiator and the stanchions. Now, I could have gone shopping else secondhand, you know, could have got some sort of dodgy bits, gone to a breakers, etc., but I wanted to think about the price selling on and, you know, the benefits from that. So basically, I could have got it a lot cheaper, and I feel a bit of a dick for spending 500 quid on the radiator, and I think it was 160 quid for the fork stanchions. But having that fork reserviced by JHS has absolutely transformed it. It was like a 3-stage action with the forks, and they just didn't work. They're horrible. But the fork, it's so much better. It's like a brand new bike at the front end now. Radiator, yeah, I mean, straight away, you know, it was, obviously it looks nicer, a brand new rad. Would it have helped? I don't know. It might have lasted, but I didn't want to take that risk. You know, having said that, well, she didn't last that long anyway. We've placed a fan. The radiator fan was £15 off a mate. Talking of cooling, the Samco hoses, yes, again, I could have got some cheaper ones, but the hoses were bad. There's no way this was going to last 10 miles, 100 miles, let alone 1,000 miles. So got some Samco hoses from Race Bike Bits, and they're £127. So yes, that is not on the budget side of things, but they look sexual, and there's a reason why all the race teams use Samco hoses, because they're top quality. Battery, again, like Chris, I got a lithium battery. Mine was 60 quid because it was smaller than his massive thing. Oh, brake lines. Now, you remember those horrible blue things? They were disgusting. So my brother works at Bike Talk Racing, and he gave me a cracking deal. Got some nice lines, race lines, which replaced the over-the-shoulder boulder holder. Now, the exhaust is a bit of a sticking point because I haven't paid any money for it yet, and I don't really want to, because for starters, it was up in his loft, so it was doing nothing, and he didn't even realise it was there in the first place. So I think that should be a freebie. He's saying 200 quid, but I think we'll knock him down a bit later on. So, I mean, the exhaust, well worth it. I mean, because there's no Euro emissions bullshit with these bikes, and the fact is, you put a nice can on, and we had 4 horsepower, I think, 3 or 4 horsepower straight away. I would have loved to do the K5, K6 headers, but just run out of time, and I think, you know, that would have been a good budget mod, because you can get it for 80, 90 quid on eBay, and James had some upstairs anyway. So, I mean, I think the biggest regret for me on this trip has to be the fact that I didn't replace those calipers. Everyone was saying, all the comments and the emails and the messages I had, the comments were, replace those 6-pots because they're useless. And I just thought, oh, it's all right, I could put some pads in, you know, do this and that. No, just whatever you do, if you have an SRAD, just get rid of them. They are shocking. They are so shit. Even James, who, you know, the expert at everything he does, we did a full overhaul, replaced everything. They were bled beautifully. Oh. And still, there's nothing good about those brakes at all. So I think I would have done what Chris had done and got the Nissin 4-pots on, or even made M4s fit, because there's an easy way of doing that as well. So talking of comfort and ergonomics, the screen I think has to be probably one of the best 55 quid I've ever spent. Remember that ghastly blue thing. Now this is a skid marks double bubble. It's smoked, so you sort of get the best of both worlds. But the big thing for me was the comfort. While Chris was sort of tucked under, giving it everything, trying to get away from the wind, this thing, I mean, I could cruise at 100 and something kilometers an hour and still be bolt upright, and the wind would be out. There was no issues whatsoever. I mean, the rest of the bike, they changed the seat maybe and got rid of that horrible bit at the front where it looks like it's been abused. The total I've spent is £1,216, and that's minus the exhaust, so we'll figure that out later.
Oh, look out, it's not just the SRAD that's having problems. And because Chris has a complete lack of ability to bump start a bike, I had to do it for him.
The magical the magical wonders of the Ronda road. I may have lost this test, but it's on a much better bike. Not to look at maybe. Still quite difficult with no brakes, but the chassis makes up for everything. Makes up for its shortfalls. So involving, so raucous. You don't get this with a brand new bike. Well, then you've got brakes, haven't you? This early fuel injection is a little bit snatchy now and again when you go from closed and back open again. But I'd much rather have a bit of iffy fuel injection over some messy carbs.
Feels nice to get back on the bike after a couple of down days. And yeah, so what can I say about the ZX-7R after it's been a bit of a partner and a friend to me, and hasn't let me down too badly. Did I choose the right bike? I think I definitely chose the right bike. Yes, the SRAD, even though it had more issues, it may be a better bike. This has got something extra which you don't get, and this does have fluffy carburetors, and yes, it does splutter, and I know it's only on 3 cylinders, but the character of it, I find it's more of the era of what we want, what I want anyway. Yes, you're not going to break a world record lap time on this bike anymore. You're not going to do it unless you spend hundreds of thousands of pounds, but it's the experience that this gives me, and the way I look at it every time I park it and go, God, I love that thing. That's what it's about. I mean, and this is fully laden with fuel. I mean, it's got to be running 235 kilos right now, and maybe more with all this shit on, and of course my fat bottom. And it's still alright. You just got to hold on a bit. That's all. So yeah, I mean, I do absolutely love this thing, I've got to say. It was a bargain. She's won the challenge dramatically over the SRAD. And then on the road, you don't notice really so much its miscomings. On the track, yeah, absolutely highlighted how heavy and sort of the throttle response was flat, and it was just a bit shit. But yeah, on the road, it really, for a cheap bike, which is going to go up in value, this thing, without a doubt. I mean, I think it already has done since we started this show. I mean, look, it still won the challenge based on actual performance and reliability and practicality, etc. But above all else, it's the way this makes you look and the way it makes you feel, which makes you fall in love with it. You know, this comes with soul, attitude, like an iconic flavour, and I love it. So thank you ZX-7R for being my partner and absolutely smashing the challenge. Well done. Well done. Team Ninja!
Team SRAD may have lost the battle, but we certainly won the war, or something. You see, unlike the Kawasaki, the Suzuki isn't based on a dumper truck and painted green. Oh no! The SRAD uses genuine GP tech and the RGV 500 chassis as a template for its awesomeness. Team Ninja, including the rider, is all about looking good, while the SRAD is still the original hooligan's choice. Its cornering techers are unmatched by any rival. Sure, you have to keep the needle as close to the red line as possible, and I may have suffered a few mechanical gremlins along the way, but I'd much prefer to be engrossed in a bike than simply admire its looks. Team SRAD for the win. Maybe next time.
What's up with it?
Got no ignition.
You turned it on?
I turned it on.
Should have bought a Kawasaki, mate.
You should have fuck off.
Where are you going?
Just hit the clocks, that's it.
Well, mate, kicking the kickstand worked earlier, didn't it? It's alright, buddy, you're almost there. Think of it how you can get a McDonald's now, and you've worked off at least a chip. I can just hear you panting in my ears.
Fuck off.
You're right, mate. You're blowing.
Blowing. I've
Okay.
just pushed the fucking bike up a hill, you fucking melt.
Well, that's what I thought. You bought the wrong bike, is it? I just noticed I was looking at WhatsApping Sam, and there's just that massive hairy fanny on the screen.
All that was left to do was wish Al a safe solo trip back to the UK, as myself and Sam boarded the victorious Jet Bird and sunk a couple of cold ones to celebrate.
Yeah, you have a great one too, guys, okay? Cheers, bye.
So the banter continues. Thank you, Fagan, for hiding the wooden spoon in my hand luggage, which came up on the X-ray in front of everyone at the Seville airport. So thank you very much for that. Very funny.